Hello, ladies and gentlemen from around the world. Welcome to Off United. I'm your host, Joe O'Neill, and thank you so much for joining us here on this depressing Monday. Now, it is depressing for most of us, and including most of the guests, except for one exceptionally happy one. We are here to, of course, cover the FA Cup, most recent results that happened over the weekend, which includes Man United. I'll say it first, embarrassing defeat to Middlesbrough. Gray might say an epic triumph over a tyrant. We disagree with him on that, and we're looking forward to disagreeing him over the next 45 minutes or so, or it might just be me and Stu crying. So you have Graham coming on, the wonderful Graham Bailey. You have Stu Woolley. You have, for the first time, you've Cal Thomas in, and Hope, who is an Arsenal fan, so please make sure to mock him in the comments because he has not got any legs to stand on. And of course, we hopefully have Trev Bickles as well, who's trying to get his Wi-Fi sorted out. And he is a West Ham fan, and he's looking forward to bragging over beating the mighty Kidderminster Harriers. So until then, get your thoughts in the comments, like, share the video around, and watch us cry for the next 45 minutes or so as we discuss the most recent FA Cup results.
Click subscribe to get daily Manchester United content from Passionate Reds, only on All for United.
Hello, everyone. And as I said, we are here and we have years and years of tears that have been bottled up by Graham Bailey. Of many defeats he's had against Manchester United, but he was here. He was at the game and he is ready to brag. There is not going to be any subtlety whatsoever. There's going to be a lot of me and Stu posturing and hoping and hopefully unmuting ourselves to try defend the undefendable. But Graham, take it away. You were confident going into this. You were at the game. You brought your young lad. You told us an interesting story about when you brought your young lad to the game and what he said to you. Can you please remind us of that?
Yeah, he actually did also. He picked the Borough to win on penalties before the game. I was outside with a friend who will vouch that. But yeah, outside the United main stand, you can get your photos taken with FA Cups, Champions League trophies, and the like. And I said to him, "Do you want to get your picture taken with FA Cup?" And he said, "No, Daddy. We'll wait for Wembley." So his confidence was up before the game, and my confidence wasn't there. I was always confident that it would be a good game. I was confident we would give you a game. We always do, as you guys know. When Middlesbrough come to Old Trafford, it's often a good game at some point. You may come out on top more often than not, which you do. But we have an outstanding record at Old Trafford, both in the Premier League and the Cups. And I must admit, I was surprised how it came out. I was surprised both teams played virtually a full strength lineup. I thought Middlesbrough, we might rest a few, given we've got some very big games coming up in the league. But no, we took 10,000 fans there. The atmosphere was great. And I will say one thing, and this isn't a dig at United particularly. It was probably the worst home atmosphere I've experienced at Old Trafford in my dozen visits there as a fan. I don't know whether that's recently, because I haven't been there as a fan recently or for a few years. But yeah, it from a very off, it seemed that even though you had Ronaldo, you had Pogba, which my son, the chance to see Ronaldo and Pogba live, even though we won, I think his highlight was seeing Ronaldo play live, something he may not get a chance to do again. And that overhead kick at our end, he went to bed dreaming about that. He loved that. So that was great. In terms of the game, I thought we played well. I thought what I'd previously said about Paddy McNair, you can see what a class act he's developed into. Lovely footballer for me, one of the best in the Championship. And we just played our game. I thought we learnt our lessons actually from previous Championship games where we lost at Blackburn recently, and we had Marcus Tavernier and Matt Crooks pushing on too far. They were pushing on, but them two sat, gave us that midfield three. And I thought we coped out. There's going to be times where you have got top international caliber players. You're going to produce chances. And you just have to do your best. And I thought that's what we did. I thought our effort levels, if anything else, were slightly higher than United's. But I thought it was there was just down the flanks. There was nothing for United in terms of defence. And yeah, it was a strange performance from United. I thought we were worthy of taking the game to extra time. Obviously, barring that Fernandes miss, which was which was pretty shocking. But no, obviously we're delighted. You know, we came there for a good night out, and the majority of the Middlesbrough fans had a wonderful night. And
Yeah,
no,
Graham,
we're buzzing from it. But yeah, United. You know, as you know, guys, I always come into this I think Manchester United are the biggest club in the world. So I think some United fans see my criticism as a bit heavy, but I have you up here. This is why I have Man United up here. I don't have you down here with the Leicesters, the Wolves, and the Leedses. I have you up here, and that's the level you need to be at. And
Graham, yeah. I completely agree with you, and actually, thank you for bringing up that point, and thank you for the dig at Leeds as well. With what you were saying there, I can't disagree with anything you're saying, and I think Middlesbrough and all your fans should be incredibly proud of how he played, and I'll come to Stu on this now in a second. But what frustrated me the most and showed the levels that we have dropped down is the fact that at halftime I was so mad because everyone was saying like, "This is the Sancho we bought. This is this way Pogba and Bruno should be playing together. This is levels." And I was like, no, now when I say this, absolutely no offense to Middlesbrough, but this is a 7th-place championship team. This game we should be, if we're playing the team anywhere below 10th, we should be 2-0 up by halftime or 2-0 up by 60 minutes. We shouldn't have to get out of second gear. It should just be dead done. We should not be taking anything from those games. We should not be going like this. This shows what we should be doing. We should be putting in a level of performance that we should be, you know, saying, "Oh, we need this level of performance every week when we're 4-0 up." Do you know what I mean? Like,
I think there's a sign there, Joe, as well. If you're not doing your homework, because one of Middlesbrough's weak points is our goalkeeper. He's not great. And I thought when was it Sancho hit the bar early on? Was it Sancho or was it Rashford?
Sancho.
When he hit the bar, I thought, "Oh, you've done your homework here. You can see he is one of our weak points in the team." But you didn't test him enough during the game. You weren't, and I just, you know, for that, I think the team, I think it epitomises United season. You've got the players to a certain degree, but you haven't got the manager, and I think they looked like they went on there just playing themselves, doing the best, but yeah, it epitomises your season where they are now, and. Because I think the forwards did okay, didn't quite do enough, but I think for us, I know Ronaldo gets a lot of stick. I think he was probably the only one going in that dressing room, as you say, at half time, Joe, rattling the cages, not happy with what he saw, because he was frustrated and unhappy because of what he was seeing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm just going to bring in Trev Bickles, who I believe has his Wi-Fi fixed, and if it is, we'll all give him a big yay. How's the Wi-Fi, Trev?
Is it better? Is it better your end?
Oh,
yeah,
fantastic. I do apologise about that. Sorry about that. The hamster stopped working on the wheel. And,
as you can see, Trev is a very subtle West Ham fan, and we'll be coming to him discussing their victory very, very soon. But we'll go up to Stu on your response to what Graham is saying. Where does this defeat lie with you?
Yeah, well, Graham's not wrong, actually. I mean, there are occasions where you actually see what it's like to be a professional footballer. And when you get two professional teams go head to head or lock on, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to say, there's always a loser. And unfortunately, we were the loser on that. Now, most fans will say, well, we had 10 or 12 clear-cut chances and we should have beaten them, etc., etc., etc. But the old adage in football is if you don't score more than opposition, then clearly you don't win football matches. And that's exactly what happened. Now we can go into the ins and outs of issues. When Varane decided to go on holiday, when Watmore was in 100 yards of space in the box, all the fans are going on about the handball. Well, it's an absolute irrelevance because he would have controlled it anyway. He still would have made the chance for Crook, and Crook still would have put it away. It's an absolute irrelevance to see Varane slowly jogging back and then at the last minute put a bit of pace on because he knew what was happening was unacceptable. I'm not quite sure what Dalot was. I think Dalot must have been asleep somewhere, having a bit of a rest because he was obviously shattered from doing fuck all. Excuse my French, all game. Graham picked up on something that I picked up and I was saying to the lads. Their goalkeeper was as dodgy as I've seen. I mean, a goalkeeper like that, you pepper him. You shoot from any angle at any given time during the match because he's going to spill one. He's going to let one through his legs. He's not going to catch it. He got absolutely zero confidence, your keeper. I did, Graham. I don't know where you've got him from.
QPR reserves, actually, Stu, yeah, which probably highlights his status, to be fair.
Yeah, so he was a very weak goalkeeper. But let's not discredit what Chris Wilder did and what Middlesbrough did, because whether or not you don't play attacking football, or whether or not you just sit behind and wait for the low block, which I didn't think Middlesbrough did all match, by the way. Let me be clear about that. I think we pushed you back. I didn't think you necessarily stayed back. And then to come away with that, with only conceded one goal against how many? I mean, I don't know how many clear-cut chances we had. Is a great performance from any level of football, whether you're at the top level or you're down at step 7. It's a great performance. And Wilder would have said at half time, look, lads, just dig in now, but be ruthless. That would have been my message to Middlesbrough. Dig in and be ruthless. And what happened? They dug in, they were dogged, and they were ruthless. They took the chances. They had one, I can't remember who had that left foot. Sorry, I can't remember the strike where Henderson saved. Greg.
That was, it might have been Crooks as well, I think.
Was it Crook as well?
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Either way, it was a good save. But you didn't let your heads drop. And I think ultimately what happened is you played yourself into the game for that short period. And then penalties is a lottery, When you get his pens, extra time.
I thought you let us back in it, Stu, where the first 15 minutes of the second half, where you should have been all guns blazing. I think suddenly we thought, and I think, as you say, it was that strike from Crooks and Henderson save, suddenly thought, do you know what? We're in this. We've got a chance, and suddenly thought they haven't killed us off yet. They haven't put us to bed, and we can get at these. I thought Isaiah Jones, as I alluded to on the previous show, what a tremendous prospect he is for us. Yeah. And he ran his socks off all night. And Crooks, as I said to you guys, off a huge Manchester United fan season ticket holder, and obviously it meant an awful lot to him to get that goal. But I just don't think you scouted us properly before the game. Our best players this season, Jones and Crooks. If you get rid of Jones and Crooks, Middlesbrough aren't winning any game.
Yeah. No,
it's an arrogance, Graham, is it? That we just decided that we were going to beat you on the day and that was it.
Because they've been our best two players all season long. And if you nullified them two, we're not going to win any game.
And I talk about a lot, Graham. I talk about intelligent football, intelligent footballers, and we do have some intelligent footballers, but for whatever reason, they left it in the changing room. It's a very, very strange situation going on at Old Trafford at the minute. And most teams who've got anything about them will be able to work out the opposition within the first 10 minutes of play. How they set up when they're out.
As I said on the previous show, Stu, I think I said if United aren't careful, we'll turn up with them two strikers, and you're like, and then United fans, you might not have seen that for years. So the team comes to you with two strikers.
No, that's right. And we seem to lack this intelligence at the minute of being able to fathom out the opposition. I've always said, and this goes back through Mark, when I was playing. The managers, the burden of the manager stops when you cross that white line. And then the game becomes a burden of the players. Cross it again at half time, blah, 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 and away you go. And the burden of the players is too much at the moment. They're not able to look at what's going on. Look, in the olden days, Graham, when I was playing, I'd have knocked Crooks off. Swift elbow here,
But do you think that's the thing with McTominay, where he's really missing that. Even if Fletcher had it, Nicky Butt had it, Phil Neville had it. Every one of these players had that captain instinct where they'd have thought, we need to keep an eye on this lad here, making those runs. Yeah. And I think that's one instinct. You're totally right, Stu. And I think you've hit the nail on the head there, which is why I've never been won over by McTominay. And one thing he's missing is that leadership. I never see him managing Man Utd unless the captain goes off injured and he's nearest to taking the armband off him. He is not a leader, and that's very unusual for a young physical midfielder like that to not possess that. It's really unusual.
But I want to go to the outsiders who are sitting politely judging us. So Cal, I'll come to you first. Obviously, you're not a Man United fan. We can all laugh at him for being an Arsenal fan. Just for the only reason we can laugh at him this week is because they didn't have a round of games, so they had a nice rest. So
it's great. My weekend remains unruined when that happens, which is always fun.
Because it was ruined the week before.
Yeah.
But Cal, we'll say, I'm not sure if you saw the game or how much you saw of it, but this result for you as an Arsenal fan looking, was it a surprise to you that we lost to Middlesbrough? And where do you feel Man United are in the world right now?
Well, I think the big takeaway for me, especially with this round of FA Cup games, is clearly the skill gap between, your top 4, top 6 teams and, everyone below is shrinking, especially when it comes to cup fixtures. I mean, obviously there's no freebies in the Premier League anymore with teams like Brighton and, like the top 4 becoming a top 6. And I think the Premier League teams are losing sight of just how good Championship clubs can be as well. A couple of almost surprises in other results, which we'll talk about as well. But in terms of United, it's been a tough couple of years. And it's kind of been the same for Arsenal as well. I see a lot of parallels in the club and in the way that the fans are as well recently. But yeah, it's a result that obviously when it goes to penalties, it's anyone's game. I thought that Middlesbrough played very well. I only kind of caught the last 30 minutes and then I've seen some highlights. But yeah, it's always good to see a Championship club really show that they can swing with the big boys, so to speak. And
it's very interesting with Championship, and I'll go to Trev on this as well, since West Ham has spent a lot of years in Championship too. But you tend to build up like a back being in there, just because I remember listening to Damien Delaney, ex-Irish international and Palace for I don't know how many years, 10 years or so, and he said it's far more difficult to get out of the Championship than it is to stay in the Premier League, because the skill level is somewhat the same. There is the same level kind of across the board somewhat, but like you're playing twice a week the majority of times. So I imagine that you just build up this mentality of like when your back's against the wall, you just fight. So if you can go to Old Trafford and maybe keep it at 1-0 for 60 minutes, unlike maybe a few Premier League teams who have been, hampered all year by being destroyed, they'll be like, we can get something from this. So like, fair play to Middlesbrough. And and I know
I think the other thing is that obviously cup sets have always been a thing. The magic of the FA Cup has always been a thing, but I think obviously you've got teams like City and Chelsea who on their day play incredible football and can roll over any team, no matter the division. But teams like Arsenal, United, who have had seasons where they've been struggling, especially this year, any kind of cracks and a team, especially of Championship caliber, can very, very easily have their own way.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll go to Championship caliber now with the wonderful Trev Pickles. Trev, great to have you on for the first time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem at all. So I imagine you're taking somewhat great joy in seeing the mighty Man United faltering to Middlesbrough.
Well, yeah, it was an interesting. I didn't believe it until I see the result. I actually didn't believe it. I had to sort of double check the result, and I see the highlights of it. And yeah, I think you mentioned before about obviously Championship sides and the way they're playing at the minute. And I think you can't underestimate the Championship. The talent down there is far greater than people think. Remember when West Ham got relegated down there for a couple of seasons? We were stuck down there for 2 seasons because it's not as easy as you think down there. And there's some real sides that know how to battle and they know how to sort of fight. And the magic of the FA Cup brings that out in a lot of teams as well. And so I won't say it was a surprise to see Middlesbrough beat Man United, a massive surprise. But I think this whole weekend, like footballing wise, it really was the magic of the cup this weekend. From Boreham Wood beating Bournemouth, the Middlesbrough result. We could talk about my result in a minute, our result at West Ham in a minute. And I think that this weekend really epitomised the FA Cup, in my opinion. Anyway, I think it's been a great weekend.
No, I absolutely agree with you on that. It's unfortunate United were part of that. Because you can look at Chelsea as well against Plymouth, like they had to have the last 3 or 4 minutes left in the clock to a penalty save to stop them from going to a possible penalty shootout. So it wasn't a clean cut. It wasn't like United got embarrassed and everyone else just sauntered through, except City, who somehow, through no skullduggery whatsoever, have got another lower league team drawn. But that's just pure chance. There can't be anything behind that whatsoever.
Joe, I think it is worth mentioning though that all levels of football now, have evolved into where we are today with Premier League clubs. So the Premier League set the benchmark a while ago, and now all other clubs are looking at what they're doing. And so even Step 7 clubs, Wellington Amateurs, they've got a sports analyst, a sports scientist. Even at that level that I played, they've still got that type of level of attention to detail. And so when you go up the leagues and when you look at Kidderminster, Trev, it was always going to be a difficult place for you to go. You were never going to go and roll them over 4 or 5-0. And people can laugh as much as they like about West Ham and just getting the result. But the reality of modern day football is completely different to what it was when you were playing. I think, what are they? Vanarama North, aren't they? Kidderminster, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. Like that. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think every West Ham fan, believe it or not, I think we was a little bit nervous because being a West Ham fan, we knew this had banana skin written all over it. I think any West Ham fan that went there thought we were going to batter them 5-0 was, unrealistic. But at the same time, I think the level of our performance, which we'll touch on that in a minute, I've never seen a worse West Ham performance. I mean, I've never come away from a win angry. I think that's no disrespect to West Ham. It's more massive credit to Kidderminster, like what you said about how the lower league sides are really, like they're introducing sports scientists and things like that. You can't take them for granted nowadays.
Well, if you get to Midland, sorry, I was just going to say, if you get to like Midland Premier League level at this point in time in the series, you're not too far off Vanarama Premier League in terms of standard. And that's really interesting because that was never the case 10 or 15 years ago, but it is the case today. And these lads are being paid 200 quid a game, 100 quid a goal at that level. So that's where football is at this point in time. What tends to happen is that better players, and it's really weird this, and ex-players will tell you this, you almost come down to the level of your opposition when you're in their back garden, especially Premier League. Where you roll in, the old iron gates that are rusted open up, and you walk into this hut. You're not walking into a dressing room. You walk into a hut. It's cold. There's no showers. You've got oranges from the 1970s still in there. That type of thing. That's what that type of football is. And then you're walking onto the pitch, which is bobbly at best. You're not used to the carpet. It does bring players down to reality. A, it's the brilliance of the FA Cup, but B, it just goes to show that at any given time and any given day, anyone can beat anyone in football.
Graham, I'm gonna come to you on this. Is there a mentality of fear when it comes to the top? We'll say the top, well, even Premier League sides, but mainly maybe the top 6. That no matter where they go, if it's outside the Premier League, if it's away day, that it's like we cannot lose this, because there's no real win, unless it's obviously if it's an FA Cup semi-final and someone's gotten really far, you're like, well, if a win, they just get to the final. But you're going to get judged so harshly no matter what the result is. We'll talk about West Ham and we'll come back to Trev with the same sort of question afterwards. But West Ham had nothing to gain and everything to lose from yesterday because they won. But even at that, Trev said he'd never been so angry at a win. So is it a case of it's just the pressure gets to it? It's probably more pressure than much Premier League games when you're going down to that level.
I think it's a case, and when it gets to this point, it's a trophy that they can win. West Ham, and they should think they can win this trophy now. But I think that in West Ham's case, it just confirmed their worst fears that what they did in the January window was terrible, and they desperately need a centre half. Having seen Issa Diop play, wow. How bad a performance was that? And the fact, nothing wrong with how Jared Bowen played, but they need better options than him to play an essential role than Antonio. So I think West Ham's case was slightly different, where they're part of their anger and annoyance, and Trev can confirm this, is probably them 2 signings which they needed the whole of January might cost them big in terms of league as well, and maybe not just in the cup. Same with Arsenal. I think, Carl, that was their big chance of their only chance of a trophy this year, and they went out. So I think some of these games have more pressure on them, and point in case with United as well. That was your well, you're still in Champions League, but you won't win that if we played it 50 times over. So your only chance is winning the FA Cup. And so the silverware factor is huge, and these managers do need these victories. So I think yeah, and they'll look back on these rounds and think, what if, Ragnick now has no chance of getting a United job because he won't even have silverware to put up and do it. But yeah, I think now you get into this stage where you are looking towards Wembley and Trevor confirmed. I think West Ham do have one eye on making at least the semi-finals, and there's some chance. But I do think that yesterday's performance, I imagine Moyes was on the phone to do something. I was right. We did need these two players.
Trev, where do you stand on this? Because obviously, you had an incredible season last season. We can say you were very unlucky to not get top four. Is that still the expectation, or is a trophy more so than anything else?
I think Middlesbrough fan hit the nail on the head with regard to our transfers. I think pre-January transfer window, top four we're all kind of looking over our shoulder, thinking with a signing or two, why not? Yeah. We can dream. But I think since the January transfer window and the massive disappointment from all West Ham fans in the lack of transfers. People say centre-back. I think a forward's more important because I think we do have cover within the squad, potentially if we're desperate for a centre-back. You could maybe go to a back three, or you could, if you're mega desperate, put Declan Rice in the back, but that's talking last resort. Forwards-wise, for us, is the massive problem. And I think that really showed yesterday, and you could see it on David Moyes' face a bit, in the sense where, our strength in numbers isn't as good as what we think. I think if you look throughout the squad, we had a lot of our second string out at the start, and they're just not good enough. Yarmolenko, if anyone wants him now on a free, I'll gladly take him to you. Middlesbrough, if you're interested, I'm sure I can run him up to you.
I think Sporo and Balogun are probably better, to be honest.
Mate, do you know what? I tell you something. I would have had Kiddy Minster's forward over him. He played outstanding. And I'd have had that. Is it Porter, the back centre back at Kidman? So I'd have had him over Issa Diop, who was shocking. He was actually linked with Newcastle in the January transfer window, but we couldn't sell him because we don't have enough backup. Hence the lack of transfers. I think, so to summarise, I think the cup is definitely more on our targets now than the league. I think if we can finish 6th, that's kind of realistic target for us now. You've got to dream for 4th, but I think realistically 6 will be a great achievement. And I think a cup, we're still in Europe as well. People forget that, we've still got the European draft, which is coming up, I think, in this month. We'll find out who we've got in the next round. I think a cup for us is a massive, would be a good thing for us. And we've got Southampton next round, a Premier League club. It's a tough place to go, but I'm sure we can do it,
Cal, I'll come to you on Arsenal's expectations in a second. But Trev, just stick with West Ham. Why didn't you buy anyone? Like, you strike while the iron is hot, and West Ham have never been hotter, do you know?
Well, this really goes down to what a lot of the grievances West Ham fans have. And it's not so much with the team, it's with the board. Now, Gold and Sullivan are notorious for bad transfer dealings, not spending a lot of money and things like that. Now, people can mention under Pellegrini the amount of money that was spent, but that was because the mass pressure that was put on from the fans when the protests were happening and things like that. I could really go into sort of the stadium move and stuff like that. Plus, also as well, there is a rumour going around that David Moyes is a bit at fault as well. He's United fans, you might be able to answer this one, but he's quite a ditherer in the transfer market, we've noticed, especially when it comes to forwards. Now, he seems to know what he wants defensively, like when he brought in people like Zuma. Midfield, he seems to know exactly what he wants, but forwards, I think there was a fact, something like it's been like 900 odd days since we've signed a forward. And since then we've sold people like a Jetty to Celtic, Haller, Javier Hernandez. We've just not replaced them. I'd say it's a combination, I'd say, of the board and they're not willing to spend the money, and David Moyes being also, I'd say, let's say, over hesitant and maybe a bit picky on who he wants. So I'd say it's a combination of the two.
Well, we had, like, the famous story is the Fellaini story from us when he was in for Fabregas. He rejected Tony Cruz, and look, madness. Tony Cruz was house shopping in Manchester, and he decided he didn't want him. But he said that with Fellaini, obviously we bought him for 15 million more than we needed to because there was a release clause. We bought him in July. Fabregas seemed to be could happen, but he said he would come to United if he didn't start the first game of the season for Barcelona. He did start, so that kind of threw everything up. But there was no, Fellaini was way down plan C, and we ended up overpaying for him, and he wanted Leighton Baines as well. That never happened. But I can understand where you go from there. When he knows, he knows. But like, I don't think forwards were an issue back then. Well, you could say they were, but we had Hernandez, we had Van Persie, we had Rooney. They were aging, but they were there. You know, there was something there. But yeah, I get where you're coming on that. But Cal, for you, obviously you're a week out from being knocked out from a fellow Championship club. What can you hope for from Arsenal to make this a successful season?
Well, just, I mean, being in a similar position as Trevor West Ham, I just kind of want to echo exactly what he said. I wholeheartedly agree that the trophy is much bigger than a Europe finish, because teams like that probably again aren't going to win the Champions League. If you talk about the Europa League, it's a toss-up. I mean, I could see West Ham going and getting quite far in a Europa League competition next year, but you would rather just take the trophy now than risk it later on. So I would have all eyes on the FA Cup if I were them. For us, obviously now we've just got the Premier League to focus on and to focus on the best finish that we possibly can. It's been a poor couple of weeks. The Aubameyang saga is finally over. I wish him well at Barcelona. As a character, I always liked him. Obviously, him and Mikel, just two stubborn people clashing heads, and neither one of them back down. That seems to be the case. At the end of the day, Mikel is the manager, and you kind of have to get in line or get out of line. So it's a catch-22 in terms of finishing the season and where you want to finish in the league, for me at least. I kind of hate the Europa League. I don't like the fact that we'd have to travel to Kazakhstan or wherever on Thursday and then play a match. Our matches become almost every week on Sundays, and that just kind of changes the schedule and the mentality of footballers as well, playing on Sundays and not having that Sunday to be your recovery day and then going into the week on a Monday fresh for training, as well as the jet lag that comes into play of flying across Europe on Thursday evenings. I was glad last season we finished 5th or 6th or 7th or whatever it was and missed out on European football completely, and I was quite pleased with that because it meant the next season, which clearly needs to be a rebuild season, we just focus on football here on the mainland, the Cups and the Premier League. I would like to say that we could push for a top 4 finish. I think the next couple of weeks are completely crucial. We kind of were on a great run and we've been knocked back a peg. I would be happy with Europa League. Obviously, the comments I just made in regards to the travel being an issue and stuff like that. But, I want us to be playing European football again. That's kind of the bottom line.
Do you think Arteta is the man to bring you forward?
I do. Yeah, I do. I think the culture in kind of hot swapping managers in football is something that's terrible. And alongside that, I think, or kind of on the other side of that, I do have some level of disagreement with bringing in players that used to play for the club just based on that fact, with Lampard and other projects that, with Ole that may have gone wrong. But I think Mikel did his time with Pep at Man City, and I reckon I would hope to think he learned a lot. And I think, to be honest, watching the Aubameyang thing go down, that's something that has put Mikel's respect, a lot higher in my book, because we've been soft as a club in the past, and it's good to see a manager who is, no bullshit in the dressing room, and yeah, I think he is.
Graham, I'm actually going to come to you on that. Where do you lie with Arteta at Arsenal? And also, how do you find his dealings with how he dealt with the Aubameyang situation?
Yeah, I think I wasn't a huge fan of the business Arsenal did. I think, obviously, Odegaard is sensational player. Was a huge need with Smith Rowe in there. You've already got a £50 million attacking midfielder out of having rejected that bid from Villa. That sets his value. I still think they're so lacking in so many ways. Lokonga, the boy they brought in from Anderlecht, I think he's miles away from him. I think there's no way you haven't already got better in that squad. I thought Aubameyang, the way they dealt with it, you have to respect him for being strong in that regard, but you've left themselves so weak. They're using Lacazette, but they're not giving him a new deal, and Ketch's not signing. I don't know what it is, but I think there's something. There's something not right in there. The Artua deal didn't happen because the Kroenke family didn't like the finances. Where does that stand, Edu, in terms of negotiations? No, there's something not. I think there's something inherently not right, not right at us at the moment. You know, I think it stems to having someone like Zaka in there, who I think's it's a bad egg and been a poor signing for me. I've never rated him, but I don't know that there's got so many good things going for them in terms of the Smith Rowe, in terms of the Saka, two of the best young players in Europe. And Ramsdale, I love Ramsdale as a signing. I think Ben White's okay. I don't love a lot of the defensive things they've done. You know, Tavares. I don't know that. It's a strange one. I think they remind me of United a lot, where there's something not quite working within the hierarchy, within the team, and they're always looking for something. But I think they've left themselves short in this way. It tells me letting Aubameyang go and not bringing a striker in, they're not even looking to break in to the top four. That's what it tells me. I think they're happy. They'll be happy with sixth. And in some ways, they'd be happy not to be in the Europa League again, as Cal said. I don't think anyone at Arsenal is particularly in love with the Europa League. So, you know, it's again turned to the summer. No, I've been disappointed by Arsenal. I think they tend to beat every team who they should, but then again, when they come up against a team who is a challenge, they don't win. So, no, I'd be really frustrated if I was Cal and the rest of Arsenal fans. I'd be really frustrated. It's putting your finger on it. I think it's a difficult one.
Yeah. Just to finish on that, if I could jump in, Joe, the comment about us beating the teams that we should and then coming up against big teams is completely true, and it's something that's ring true for us for a long time. I think the City match could have been a turning point for us, but we just ended up beating ourselves, and we played incredible football for however long it was in the game, and then immediately just imploded, and that has been the problem with us. I think there's something culturally wrong at the club. I completely agree. Saka and Smith Rowe and that kind of young group of lads that we've got, and for them to be English as well. Ramsdale is also a great thing to see. Arsenal, who are historically a club without kind of a lot of English players, but again, on the other side of the hierarchy of the club, I agree with Graham. There's just something culturally there that's wrong.
Yeah, and long may it continue. We're going to go to finish off for the last 7 or 8 minutes or so. I'm going to go up the shoe on this. What for you was the shock result of the most recent round of FA Cup fixtures?
Well, look, Trevor won't like me for saying it, but the shock result was West Ham just scraping over Kidderminster, because I know most people say Bournemouth. Look, I saw the game, and I don't think it was. I think when you look at the overall weekend, Forest played exceptionally well against Leicester, really taught Leicester a lesson. Bournemouth dug in against Bournemouth, but Bournemouth played a reasonably strong side. But for me, Kidderminster against West Ham was the shock result for me. I was like everyone else, and there's no disrespect, Trevor. It was just the romance of the FA Cup, praying that West Ham faltered, because it would have been a brilliant story. It's up the road from me. It's about 40 minutes up the road. I'd have heard the roars, and it was amazing. But so for me, that's the shock result. I'm sorry, Chad, but you've got to be able to look for it, I think, sometimes from a football purist's eyes. And I'm a purist. I love the game. I don't just support United, but I love football as a whole. And I look at it from a purist's eyes. So I'd have loved for them to have scraped over the line. It would have been fantastic for the club. And it would have given the town of Kidderminster that boost that it really needs, and it would have been great. So
cool. I'll go to Trev on a rebuttal there, but I would say I'm not having any respect. I think it would just be hilarious if West Ham got knocked out.
Do you know what? I think up until about the 90th minute, I totally agree with you. It was a shock result for us as well. And do you know what? I don't begrudge any fan for being like that. I think if the shoe was on the other foot, if it was Man United or Arsenal or something like that, I think I've been saying the same thing. It is the magic of the cup. I think, and I won't take nothing away from Kidderminster. I mean, nothing at all. I mean, that first half performance, every one of our players was shell-shocked. I mean, you could look at them all coming off the pitch going like, oh my God, what is going on here? So no, I totally agree with you up there. It was a shock result, but in a bizarre kind of way, in the sense they should have beat us. And it would have been great for Kidderminster as well. They've got Southampton the next round. It'd been great for the club and the town.
It's all about finances as well, isn't it? I mean, they did obviously quite well, but they've got another Premier League club in the next round. The finances, the club set them for 10 years. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, totally agree.
For you, Trev, would you stick with Shoes 2-1 being the shock result, even though they lost, or?
I'm going to say yes, but I'm putting up a result that no one's mentioned, and it's the Bournemouth versus Bournemouth. I think that's a great result for Boreham Wood. I think, I think no one's talked about that one yet. They're a lower league side, aren't they? And I think they've beaten a championship club, and they've lined. I don't know they've got the next in the next round, but no, I think I'm going to say either us or the Boreham Wood.
They got
Everton.
Everton.
Amazing result. I think so. I'd agree. Either us or the Boreham Wood result. I thought was a great result for them.
Yeah. Cal, coming to you. What was the shock result?
I'm going to be a contrarian and go with Nottingham Forest Leicester.
Oh wow, that's a great shout. Actually, to be fair,
Forest, a team who's 8th in the championship, and obviously they beat us and played incredibly well. When they did, we were very poor as well. But coming against Leicester, a team who's been, I guess a bit of an up and down season for them in the Premier League. But you think surely lightning can't strike twice, and they put 4 past Leicester. And the City ground was absolutely rocking when you were watching the game. So. Yeah, credit to them. Again, sitting, I think it's 8th in the championship. And who have they got next round? They've got Huddersfield. So a very winnable game for them.
Yeah. Which is probably lose because it's not a Premier League.
Yeah, and that kid, honourable mention to that kid, Jed Spence. He looks an absolute player and one that I can imagine might be snapped up by a Premier League side in the summer.
Okay. So
he won't need to, Cal. He'll be playing for one by the summer. He'll come back to his parent club, who will be in the Premier League.
Oh,
all things come back to Middlesbrough. Graham, for yourself, are you going to give the deciding vote? What was the shock result? Is it Burnham Wood? Even though you said beforehand you had them on to win, is it West Ham beating Kidderminster Harriers, or is it Nottingham Forest against Leicester?
No, it's Middlesbrough knocking out a full strength Manchester United.
I'm feeling that's the way you were going to go.
But it was Bournemouth would argue it's their second or third string there. It's still a great result for Boreham Wood, but going to our Vitality Stadium holds no fear. Boreham Wood playing bigger stadiums than the Vitality every other week in the National League, so that stadium doesn't hold any fears for them. We got to Old Trafford, and it's as Dale Fry said. He was, if you saw some of the comments about him going up against Ronaldo, and it was funny pre-game and we've gone there and gone toe to toe with the biggest club in the world, as I always say. But yeah, it's definitely the result of Old Trafford, because that was your full team you put out there. That wasn't a second string United. And fair enough, we should have done you a favour by putting out our second string. You might have given you a chance then, but no, it was going there, and the fact that all your fans turned up as well. It was a wonderful night under the lights. It was, and I think when we turned up, you got a feeling there was something in the air, because any game, like when you got one Anfield on Old Trafford under lights, it's always a bit special, isn't it? And it made it more so.
Absolutely, and thank you very much, guys, for this preview. And Graham, thank you for going not fully in and not just laughing at us for the last 43 minutes or so. Although Cal is an Arsenal fan, he does have a connection to Man United. If you want to tell us what that is, Cal.
My sister plays up front.
Yep.
Martha Thomas, she wears the number 9 for Man United.
Martha, yeah, she does. Yeah, I go and watch the women's.
Oh, do you? Nice.
I do. I
live in London, so it's the away games that I can manage to get to usually. But yeah, she was at West Ham before that. So Trev, I don't know if there's a West Ham shirt there.
That has say that. I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So I have a West Ham shirt on my wall and a Man United shirt in my wardrobe, which I never wear. But I promised her, it's a good story actually. When it was her WSL debut against Arsenal, and I said, against Arsenal, and I said, if you score against my club on your debut, I will buy a West Ham shirt and I will put our name on the back. She did. And so now any club she plays for, except Spurs, I will put, her name on the back.
No, that's right.
So that's why I brought Cal on today. He's everyone. She has to play for Middlesbrough now, and that's the only way it'll go.
We should put Cal in touch with John. Jonathan, because we've got a women's channel as well, off United WFC, and Jonathan, love to have you on. Talk about Martha.
Well, myself and Cal have discussed that. We were out the other night watching Celtic versus Rangers, come on Celtic, and although Cal was a bit more of the bad side, and but he kept that quite quiet in the pub we were in. But we also had United Chelsea on his phone, so we were double jobbing. So yeah, guys, thank you so much. We'll get in touch with Cal about that. Hopefully get him on. But thank you, Trev. Thank you, Graham. Thank you, Stu. Thank you, Cal. Thank you, Cal and Graham and Trev for being on for the first time. Thank you, Stu and Graham, for being on for the millionth time. And thank you, Graham, like I said before, for just not laughing at us for 45 minutes.
No problems, guys. No problems. Up the borough.
Up there, yeah, absolute pleasure. Hopefully, this time next year we'll be playing twice and we will be beating twice. So up until we see you next time, guys, next round of fixtures. Let's hope all of our teams are 3 points ahead of where they are now, except for Arsenal and West Ham and Middlesbrough. And we will see you all very, very shortly. And give love to the guys in the comments. Share the video around. Like, subscribe to the channel, and give them a follow on social medias. And until next time, it's been a pleasure.